The conflict between billion-dollar brands was sparked by a 20-year-old Filipino. For the first time in her career, Eala advanced to the round of 16 at the BNP Paribas Open tonight at Indian Wells Tennis Garden after defeating world number 4 Coco Gauff 62-20 in 54 intense minutes. However, this is what no one has yet to utter aloud. Music. The moment that final point landed, the moment Gauff walked toward the net and said, "I'm sorry. I hate to do this." An entirely different competition erupted. Not on the court, in the boardrooms of global corporations, because the commercial war for Eala's name, her identity, and her cultural value has been quietly accelerating for months. And what just happened at Indian Wells, that wasn't a tennis result. That was music, a detonation. Buckle in, because what we're about to reveal goes far beyond rackets and rankings. This is the story of how one young woman became the most fiercely coveted commercial asset in all of women's tennis and the billion-dollar battle nobody warned you was coming. Every commercial empire begins somewhere quiet, somewhere small, somewhere nobody thinks to look. For Eala, it began at a Milo sports clinic in the Philippines. A young child swinging a racket while the world paid absolutely zero attention. Her journey started at those very Milo grassroots programs, clinics designed to ignite athletic dreams across Filipino communities long before global stardom was anywhere near a realistic conversation. She wasn't a prodigy being marketed. She was a kid who loved a sport. And yet, the corporations were watching earlier than anyone acknowledges. Eala signed her very first endorsement contract with Globe Telecom Music at just 8 years old. Read that figure again. Most children that age are still figuring out multiplication tables. Music. Eala was already on a corporate agreement with one of the Philippines' biggest telecommunications giants. That relationship wasn't transactional. It was foundational. Globe didn't sign a tennis player. Globe signed a belief system, a conviction that this particular child carried something extraordinary inside her. In 2019, she added Nike to her portfolio. 3 years after that, in 2022, she became an endorser for BPI, the Bank of the Philippine Islands. Layer by layer, quietly and methodically, a commercial infrastructure was being constructed around a teenager who was simultaneously music, ascending through every junior ranking on the planet. Babylat, the prestigious French racket manufacturer with a legacy built partly on music Rafael Nadal's dominance, supplied her equipment, specifically the Pure Aero model. The Philippines has historically struggled to provide government-level financial backing for elite athletes. The Philippine Sports Commission operated on a budget of roughly $23 million, barely exceeding what a single American college football team allocates for player compensation. Music. Against that backdrop, Eala's corporate backing wasn't just convenient, it was a lifeline. Without Nike, without Babolat, without Globe, there may have been no pathway to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Morca, no pathway to professional tennis, no pathway to music, any of this. What's remarkable isn't merely that she attracted sponsors, music, young. What's remarkable is that every single brand that committed to her did so based on character, on trajectory, on intangible magnetic potential long before a single WTA title existed. They weren't investing in a champion. They were manufacturing music. The conditions for one. And here's the question that should be keeping every competing brand awake at night right now. How much is loyalty worth when music, the entire world suddenly wants with you head first? Some moments don't just change careers. Some moments rewrite entire commercial timelines. When Eala arrived at the 2025 Miami Open, she was ranked number 140 in the world, receiving a wild-card entry into a WTA 1000 event packed with Grand Slam royalty. She wasn't supposed to advance past the first round. The analysts hadn't circled her name. The television cameras weren't hunting for her face in the locker room hallways. Then she started winning. She defeated Galina Estepenko. She conquered Madison Keys, the reigning Australian Open champion. Music. And then in a performance that paralyzed the tennis establishment, she walked onto the court against world number 2 Igos Fayet and walked off victorious. 3 Grand Slam champions, eliminated by a 20-year-old who wasn't even supposed to be competing at that level. 12 months prior, Eala had been ranked number 140. That single Miami run catapulted her into the WTA 100, music, making her the first Filipino player in history to achieve that milestone. Her social media following exploded. Sponsors who had been passively observing suddenly began aggressive internal conversations. Nike's relationship deepened. Babolat's relevance to her story grew considerably stronger. Globe Telecom's decade-long investment began generating cultural dividends that no marketing department could have projected. Industry analysts began drawing direct comparisons between Eala and Emma Raducanu, the British-Chinese sensation who captured the 2021 Music US Open and triggered an immediate commercial avalanche. Both athletes carry crossover appeal across music, multiple lucrative markets, Japan, China, the Philippines, and increasingly the broader global audience that tennis desperately craves. Sky Sports presenter Gigi Salmon delivered perhaps the most provocative commercial verdict of the entire season. She assessed that in terms of pure crowd magnetism and spectator appeal, Eala might already be the biggest star in women's tennis, music, regardless of ranking. Read that verdict carefully. Regardless of ranking, that single assessment represents a seismic shift in how sports marketing operates. 4 decades, commercial value tracked, music ranking. Number 1 got the biggest deal, number 2 got the next deal. The hierarchy was numerical, rigid, predictable. Alex Eala is shattering that model entirely music. Because the crowds filling her practice sessions, the millions consuming her content, the fans traveling internationally purely to witness her compete, that loyalty transcends a WTA ranking position, and every brand executive paying attention understands what that means for their bottom line. In music, September 2025, a Facebook post erupted across Filipino social media, claiming that American sports equipment manufacturer Wilson had offered Alex Eala a $45 million endorsement contract, music, and that she had accepted. The fabricated post accumulated over $13,000 likes, 6,700 comments, and thousands of shares before fact-checkers could contain the wildfire. It included a manufactured quote attributed directly to Eala, suggesting she planned to donate the fictional funds toward uplifting Filipino communities. Fact-checking organizations Verifiles and Rappler both published formal debunks. Wilson had made no such announcement. No official statement existed from either party. The story was entirely constructed. But stop for a moment and absorb what actually occurred here. A completely fabricated deal with zero basis in documented reality generated 103,000 music, emotional reactions across a single platform. People shared it without verification. Music. People celebrated it without confirmation. People debated it without evidence because the story felt emotionally true. Because the audience wanted it to be real. Because the commercial appetite around Alex Eala had grown so enormous that even a hoax could generate tidal wave engagement. Meanwhile, Eala's actual sponsor portfolio, Globe Telecom, Babolat, Nike, the Bank of the Philippine Islands, and locally Juice announced in July 2025, was generating legitimate commercial momentum that the fake narrative inadvertently amplified. Think about what that reveals. Wilson's name trended globally. Their brand appeared in millions of Filipino feeds without spending a single dollar. The rumor alone delivered brand exposure that no conventional advertising budget could purchase. When a fabricated story about an athlete generates more organic music engagement than most verified campaigns, the commercial industry sits up and takes exhaustive notes. The lie told the truth about something far bigger. Music. Alex Eala has graduated Banan sponsorship. She has become a cultural phenomenon, and cultural phenomena are worth infinitely more than any contract figure. 14 days before the Indian Wells draw was even announced, something significant transpired at SM Mega Mall in Manila. On February 22, 2026, Milo Philippines, formerly Music, unveiled Alexa as the newest ambassador for its landmark My Milo Story campaign, a sweeping national initiative celebrating the deeply personal connections Filipinos maintain with the brand across generations. Milo's vice president of marketing, Lawrence Larico, articulated the alignment with precision. Eala's transition from music grassroots participant to world-class professional embodied the brand's 60-year legacy of building champions. Music. This wasn't a transactional endorsement. Announcement. Milo wasn't purchasing access to Eala's audience. Milo was reclaiming its origin music story because Eala literally began her athletic life in a Milo sports clinic. The circle was completing itself publicly on a national stage with full corporate ceremony. The campaign featured a new television commercial alongside pole vaulting champion E.J. Obana targeting 3 million Filipino story submissions under the hashtag MyMiloStory, an initiative designed to connect grassroots athletic participation, music, with elite professional achievement. Then barely 2 weeks after that Manila launch, the Indian Wells tournament commenced. Even before Eala contested a single match, fans' music packed her practice sessions. Her Instagram following hovered at 960,000, more than double the music figures of comparable WTA-ranked players. A day in the life video produced by the BNP Paribas Open's official YouTube channel became the most viewed tournament content of 2026 by a substantial margin. Coco Gauff herself acknowledged the phenomenon after their Dubai encounter, publicly thanking Eala's supporters for filling center court and crediting her with attracting an entirely new demographic to professional tennis. Then, music came Sunday night on Stadium 1. Eala dictated every exchange from the baseline, breaking Gauff across all 4 service games in the opening set, producing 12 unforced errors against Gauff's 26. Music, dismantling the world number 4's rhythm so completely that Gauff accumulated 7 double faults before ultimately retiring with a left arm injury. Gauff later described her arm sensation as feeling like a firework detonating internally. Music, the pain escalating progressively until continuing became medically indefensible. It marked only the second retirement of Gauff's professional career. And Eala, she stood on Stadium 1 and told the crowd, "I really didn't want to win this way, but this is still a very big moment for me." Grace under global scrutiny, composure while the commercial machinery surrounding her name accelerated beyond anything a 20-year-old should reasonably be expected to navigate. Milo just claimed her story. Nike already owns her outfit. Babolat already owns her weapon. Globe already owns her origin. And every other corporation watching that Stadium 1 performance is now calculating the precise cost of missing their opportunity entirely. Here is where the numbers become genuinely staggering. Music. Eala's documented career prize money reached approximately $1.36 million as of late 2025. A figure that, while substantial for her age, represents merely the foundational layer of a commercial architecture being assembled, music, at remarkable velocity. Prize money in isolation is almost irrelevant to music, this conversation. It is the smallest component of an elite athlete's commercial valuation. The genuine wealth, the category-defining generational wealth, flows through endorsements, licensing arrangements, content partnerships, and the kind of cultural ambassadorship that transcends sport entirely. Industry sources confirm that A-list corporations are actively pursuing Eala for major partnerships drawn specifically by her capacity to bridge multiple high-value markets simultaneously. The Philippines, broader Southeast Asia, Japan, China, and the global tennis audience. Her current WTA ranking reached a career high of number 31 on February 23, 2026. And with this Indian Wells fourth-round breakthrough, further advancement appears not merely probable, but inevitable. Consider what already exists in her portfolio without a single additional contract. Music. Nike, the most powerful apparel brand in athletic history. Babolat, the equipment manufacturer whose legacy includes 3 decades alongside the greatest clay court competitor ever produced. Globe Telecom, a national cultural resonance across every Filipino demographic. BPI, institutional financial credibility. Milo, grassroots emotional authenticity connecting her to millions of children who first picked up a racket because a brand told them they could become champions. Each sponsor occupies a distinct non-overlapping territory in her identity. None of them conflict. All of them amplify. This portfolio architecture built carefully across 12 years of music. Deliberate relationship building represents something that no amount of money can accelerate retroactively. It was constructed through patience and authenticity. Any corporation attempting to enter now faces a landscape where the most meaningful territories are already occupied. Her social media engagement rate dwarfs players ranked considerably above her, double the follower counts of comparably positioned WTA athletes. The gap between her commercial magnetism and her current ranking creates an extraordinary arbitrage opportunity for any brand sophisticated enough to act before the ranking catches up to the cultural music reality. Because here's the brutal commercial truth. When Eala inevitably breaks into the WTA top 20 and the trajectory suggests that timeline is accelerating, music, every endorsement negotiation currently underway will face dramatically elevated price expectations. The brands already inside her ecosystem locked their rates years ago. Every latecomer will pay a premium that feels increasingly punishing with each passing tournament. So the question isn't whether billion-dollar corporations want Alex, music, Eala. The question is whether any of them can still afford her and whether she'll even need them. From a Milo sports clinic in the Philippines to Stadium 1,